All right, let's get started. Thank you for joining us today. Today's webinar topic is solving the soiling problem for utility scale PV development. This is where we're going to be showcasing our integration between PlantPredict and PVRADAR for daily soiling loss and cost optimal cleaning. On today's agenda, we're going to give you a quick intro about Terabase, about PVRADAR, talk about what's new in PVRADAR, about the soiling API versus soiling extension that's built into PlantPredict. We're going to do a little bit of a technical deep dive about assumption-based versus data-driven approaching to soiling, and then we'll jump to a live demo. Finally, a closing and a Q&A. So if you have any questions at any time, please provide those into the chat and we'll get to them. Today's presenters from Terabase, we have David Spieldenner, Director of Sales for PlantPredict, and from PVRADAR, we have Thor Miller, CEO of PVRADAR. And with that, I'm going to let David take it from here.
Thanks, Rafal. Appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who's joined into this webinar. We're really excited about what we're going to be talking about today. For those of you who are new to Terabase, we have multiple product lines, but our overall mission is to reduce the cost and accelerate the deployment of solar through software and automation. First, on the left, we have PlantPredict, which is our solar modeling engine, and it's going to be the focal point of our conversation today. In the middle, we have our construction management software, Construct, and our automation platform called Terafab. The Terafab, which is an amazing solution, combines robotics and artificial intelligence to automate the installation of trackers and modules, and it's installed industry-leading over 100 megawatts to date, and is set to install hundreds more in 2026 as we release the next generation of that solution. And then on the right-hand side, we have our SCADA product. So one thing about Terabase is we do have product lines that span the entire life cycle of a solar power plant. So when you partner with Terabase, you're going to be able to get solutions that will work with you through your entire project process, all the way from early stage design through operations. And our SCADA product is one that we're really proud in that situation. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about PlantPredict. So PlantPredict is our energy modeling and solar design solution. We have our core product, which is our energy model, PlantPredict, our energy modeling tool, and our recently released and the product that we're really excited about is our 3D modeling capability within PlantPredict. All of that is what we refer to as our core PlantPredict product. We also have a Pro and Enterprise solution. We just refer to that as PlantPredict Pro. PlantPredict Pro brings with you not only the core product, but also our Pro tools, Design Pro, Voltage Pro, and Terrain Pro. We've talked quite a bit about Design Pro and Terrain Pro and Voltage Pro in past webinars. If you're interested in any of that, you can just go to our website and look at our past webinars to get more details on that. Now, when you purchase a Pro subscription, you get access to what we call Pro extensions. And that's going to be what we're going to be talking about today. So we have our CAD Ready extension, which really works with Terrain Pro. It allows you to import CAD data into Terrain Pro and still run the same cut fill analysis that Terrain Pro is kind of known for, but you're able to do that on your actual CAD design. We also are releasing today the PVRADAR soiling extension, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. In addition to our Pro extensions, we're going to start offering our PlantPredict Performance API extension to any of our paid subscribers. So anybody from Core all the way through to Pro, we're going to now start offering the API, the Performance API extension. I'm going to talk about pricing for that here later in the webinar. All right. Seems we lost one of my slides. So, oh no, I just got a little confused there. Now I'm going to head over to Thor, and he's going to talk a little bit about PVRADAR.
Well, thank you, David. Yeah, just to quickly introduce PVRADAR Labs. So PVRADAR Labs is a consulting and software company from Munich, Germany. We specialize in yield estimation and yield modeling, and we have a specific specialty in soiling modeling. We provide different solutions around soiling modeling. There is, for example, our soiling our web application that allows project developers to get an accurate estimation of long-term future soiling losses starting from day one of development. That is what we're going to present today, and that is what is now fully integrated into PlantPredict. We also have a soiling API, so basically for organizations that already have an internal workflow or just need the soiling via an API, there would be solutions available. And then following down that line of thought, we also providing a Python-based software development kit that facilitates the development of internal tools, for example, by giving access to dozens of different sources, as well as internal data in a single line of code. Well, yeah, back to you, David.
All right, thanks, Thor. So we're going to kick things off with our first poll question. So poll question number one, Rafal, is that displayed? There it is. So poll question number one, based on your experience, what are the worst consequences of wrong soiling estimates? We have unable to respond to questions from the bank's technical advisor, unable to justify cleaning budgets, time-consuming internal discussions, unexpected performance losses, or something else. Go ahead and answer that. And we will allow just a few seconds for people to provide their response. So it looks like there's an overwhelming majority here. Let's see what we're seeing. So I assume that everybody's seeing this at this point, but unexpected performance losses is what is the winner in that one. So, all right, moving on. Okay, we at Terabase are very active in the PVPMC community. For those of you who are not familiar with the PVPMC, it is put on by the Sandia National Labs, something that I encourage everybody to be part of. It's a wonderful organization and group, and there's an annual conference that's held every year. That's always my favorite conference of the year. This last year was held in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and during that conference, we talked about what are the main issues that affect the uncertainty of our performance models that we're building in the world of solar development. And it really came down to really two things, 3D terrain modeling, so understanding the impacts that terrain is going to have on your power plant. For those of you that attended our version 12 rollout webinar a couple of weeks back, you'll be aware that one of the main things that we've been working on over the last 2 years is a 3D modeling capability that allows us to really understand the terrain effects of the power plant on your model. All right. Now, with that being said, our focus now is turning to what we think is the other major issue, which is understanding soiling. So soiling is a big issue when it comes to solar, because the dirt that's on your solar panels are going to affect the production of those solar panels. Now, we all know that this is an issue. We all know what the solution is. The solution is you just have to go out there and clean those solar panels. The problem is cleaning is expensive. And so the real challenge is figuring out how to optimize your cleaning approach so that you are most cost effectively cleaning those panels, getting as much energy as you can, but not spending more money cleaning than the energy you're producing. So doing that analysis is the real challenge. We're pretty excited about PVRADAR because they came out with a software product that helps simplify that optimization approach. We've met PVRADAR at PVPMC and we decided that we needed to collaborate. We needed to find a way to bring their technology to our PlantPredict user base, try to simplify this whole process. And that's really where all of this came from. So like we said, from PVPMC insights to actionable solutions. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Thor. He's going to walk you through the PVRADAR soiling extension solution.
Yeah, thank you, David. To kick things off and to start the demo, or to lead into the demo, what I first wanted to do is, for those in the audience that are active users of PlantPredict, or that have been following the news in the last year, you already know, of course, that there is already an integration of PVRADAR into PlantPredict that has been available to you for the past year, and that is the soiling API, which basically allows you to, for any site in the US, to get monthly average soiling loss factors. Now, what's different in the soiling extension that we're going to launch today, and that is that instead of monthly soiling loss factors, you can get daily soiling loss factors, so a huge increase in resolution. The model is no longer limited to just 5 years of data. It is now using the last 20 years of historic data, so concentration of particulate matter, rainfall. It allows users to compare different scenarios, not just the P50 or the most likely scenario, but also a bit more conservative, as well as the best case and worst case scenario. And maybe the most two very important changes is the soiling API so far included dust soiling only, which means there was no notion of what we call hard soiling, that is soiling that cannot really be washed away or at all by rainfall and just sticks around, or is very hard to remove, and therefore, if untreated, builds up quite significantly over the years and can significantly reduce the production of a power plant. On top, the soiling extension also allows you to, as David introduced, as said already, compare different cleaning strategies, different scenario cleaning strategies, in order to bring down soiling in a cost-effective manner. Both solutions are available to all pro users, and just for you to find your way around. So on the left side, we see a screenshot from the PlantPredict, and you can see that inside the environmental weather file, you can import PVRADAR soiling using that orange button. And now on the left side, within the Pro Tools, you have access to the PVRADAR soiling extension, which I will be going to present today. Then on the next slide, before jumping into the demo, I just quickly wanted to introduce the subject and maybe the motivation for this kind of for the solution that we have been developing, or that we are developing. So we have seen it in the poll, and then maybe come back to the results of the poll as well. So basically, during project development, or in the life cycle, or in the lifetime of a PV project, there's basically two different schools of thought, so approaches to soiling. Let's call them the assumption-based and the data-driven approach. Let's say the standard approach, or the most likely, based on our experience, the one that we see most is the assumption-based approach, where during early design, a development team makes certain assumptions about soiling that are maybe based on experience, or maybe some Excel spreadsheets summarizing some of the data they have been able to gather. But really, they are assumptions about the soil, and most famously, the 2% that PVSys once introduced. This 2% usually comes with the assumption that no cleaning is necessary, or at least no cleaning strategy is defined. This then leads during project finance that the yield assumptions are difficult to defend to banks. They may ask questions, where do these assumptions come from? And then really there's a very good answer to give. On top, there's no budget defined for cleaning activities, which then leads during operation to what you have been describing in the poll, and that is unexpected underperformance. Although this underperformance this word may be a little bit misleading, because maybe it isn't really underperformance, but the plant is behaving as expected. It's just the assumption on soiling that has been wrong in the first place. And then what happens, of course, now you want to try to get production up and add additional cleanings. That is very difficult without a budget defined, and nobody likes extra costs at that time. Now, the approach that we want to introduce and that we facilitate with PVRADAR is a data-driven approach. The idea being that during early design, you can run an accurate model that uses historic data for the very location to generate a soiling profile that you can use as basis of your yield assessment. You can also define a cost-effective cleaning strategy that then leads to having a report and a documented methodology and results that you can present to all shareholders, as well as a realistic budget for cleaning activity that may need to be performed. And then during operation, what that means is there are no surprises, no underperformance, no extra costs. And that's really, I think, what we all want, is a project without surprises. With that, maybe to the poll, and then I will do the demo.
All right, thank you. So now we're going into poll number 2. So go ahead, Rafal, if you want to start that poll. So how do you currently estimate future soiling losses for your PV project? Do you assume a fixed yearly average? So do the 2% assumption-based approach. Do you rely on personal or industry experience, maybe knowing where you're at and just apply a default accordingly? Do you use custom spreadsheet models? Do you model soiling losses using PVLib or similar tools, or do you actually conduct a soiling measurement campaign? So we'll give you a few moments to answer that, and we'll see what kind of results we get. All right, I think we're going to, all right, I think it's sharing now. So it looks like a large group here. I mean, we've got probably the soiling experts of the industry on this call, but they do have the winner is conduct a soiling measurement campaign, which is a pretty good approach. All right, so let's go back over to Thor. And Thor, you want to talk about the demo you're going to do?
Yeah, of course. So the interesting results, actually, to see that many of you choose to do a soiling measurement campaign. Maybe just one thought on this is, of course, besides the time, effort, and cost that this means, it also means, even if you have site data from maybe the 6 or 12 months before production, it still wouldn't be the same thing as looking at the patterns in the soiling and rainfall that you have over a much longer period of time. That is the lifetime of your project. Okay, with that said, let's jump into the demo and show you what PVRADAR can do for you. During the demo, what I will be doing is I will be looking at 2 projects. We have one in California in San Bernardino County, which is a tract power plant. And here, of course, being in a very dry and dusty environment, there's no, I mean, nobody will, I think there will be no project developer that will be surprised to, or that will be assuming that soiling will be really low. Everybody knows there will be soiling, but the question is how high will it be and how often do I need to clean to keep it under control? And then a different project where maybe people typically don't think soiling is so much of a problem is one what you would find in a more rainy or humid environment. And here we're looking at the project in Kentucky, where basically even in summer we have very frequent rainfalls. But even in this kind of conditions, due to the before mentioned hard soiling or sticky soiling, we still need to consider soiling and consider a mitigation strategy. Otherwise, it will lead to problems during the lifetime of the power plant. Right. Then that said, let me share my screen and show you how it works. Okay. So what you should be seeing, or what you are seeing, is my PVRADAR account and my project library.
Yeah, we're not seeing
that.
that.
We're not seeing it.
Okay, we are not seeing it. Share. Okay.
Now we go.
I don't know what that was. Okay, so what you are now seeing is my PlantPredict account and specifically the project library, where we find the 2 projects that have just been introduced. So what I want to do now is I want to start with the San Bernardino County project in California. So I click into this, and then I can see that there's one prediction, which is my basic, my design that I'm currently working on. Doesn't really matter. I jump into that prediction as well. And then just to show where we start from, what's our starting point, I will click into the weather data. And I can see that my current assumption for this location is a soiling loss of 2% every month of the year, right? If I then close that weather file and look at the energy results for this prediction, I can confirm that the soiling losses are around 2%. Well, a little surprisingly, the soiling losses are about 2%. For this location. They're not exactly 2% because apparently there's a little bit of clipping, masking some of that soiling, but in general there's 2% of the energy, there's a 2% energy loss for that prediction. Now, is that accurate? That's what we're going to find out. And so what we will do now is we will click on the PVRADAR soiling link in the bottom left corner. When we do this, it will bring me to my account in the PVRADAR soiling platform with the soiling extension. As you can see, in order to prepare for the webinar, I already created the two projects here in this platform, but I will run you through the process of doing that from scratch as if you hadn't done this before, or as if you're doing this yourself. On this screen, what you see is an overview of all projects on the left. You also see links to access the cleaning technologies and cleaning packages databases. That's where users can create and define the parameters as well as the cost of the cleaning systems that they want to compare. We give access to standard systems, but if you have an offer from a nearby provider or you have your own system, then you can basically run any analysis on that very system, on that very costing sheet that you want. Okay, so let's click on Create New Project. I will give it a name. I'll call it San Bernardo. And then I click Create. Okay, first thing I need to do now is I need to create a connection between my PVRADAR project and my PlantPredict project. Of course, I will connect this to San Bernardo County project. And then inside that project, I need to link it to one of the predictions. And I will use this prediction. This is, of course, because the design parameters affect the soiling estimation. So if you have a different prediction with different design parameters, then you would have to run a different soiling estimation to be accurate. So what's happening in the back is that PVRADAR is collecting the necessary information from PlantPredict and is populating the model or the project in PVRADAR. What we see, this brings us to step 2, where we see an overview of the main design parameters of our prediction. This is just to show, just to be able to confirm that this is in fact what we are working with. You can confirm the location, but you cannot change it. What you can do is you can go back to PlantPredict, change anything you want, and then re-import specifications here. Your soiling estimation would be automatically updated. Let's click Next. The next step now brings us to the most important part. That is the soiling model. So on this, in this step is where the PVRADAR soiling model is being executed. What's currently happening is that PVRADAR is collecting 20 years of data for particulate matter concentration, rainfall, meteorological conditions for the location of the project. What I see here in the top, so once we have that information, so 20 years of data, we feed it into our soiling model and basically get what the soiling losses would have been at that location for the power plant as defined in PlantPredict if it had existed in the last 20 years. And so this box plot basically shows how what kind of soiling conditions in average we would assume in the different months. So how do we have to read this? So in June, for example, we see in the box plot that average soiling losses in June range from 1% roughly to 8.6%. So in the 20-year data set that we have, there's at least one June where the soiling losses are just 1% in average. And there's at least one June where the soiling losses are 8.6% in average. Whereas half of the years show a soiling loss of at least 4%. That's the Q2 or P50 value. What we see here, so one of the most important inputs to our soiling model, and this is why we're highlighting it here a little bit, is rainfall. So rainfall, of course, well, little surprisingly, has a big impact. And then for different sites, there's different sources available, and data quality may vary a little bit, which is why we allow users to compare results based on different sources. For every location so PVRADAR works on every location globally, and we always provide data from satellite sources such as ERA5 or MERA2. But we also provide, for the US, we also provide data from the 3 closest NOAA stations. On the right here, we see the historic rain patterns. That's basically a heat map indicating the rainfall registered by one of these sources. So what does this mean? On the left, on the y-axis, we have the historic years, and on the x-axis, we have the dates. And apparently on April 11th, there was a rain of nearly 12 millimeters registered in ERA5. Now, we as PVRADAR, we always recommend using ground measured data, and I can do this by quickly switching over to the NOAA station. I can see that the results updated. and that the heat map is a little bit more sparse. So this is something that we have observed. So satellite sources are accurate in terms of total rainfall per year, but they tend to spread out the rain a little bit too much. So whenever possible, we recommend using the closest measured station that you have available. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I have my model configured. Of course, much of the soiling model is happening in the background. It's not really part of this demo, how we did the soiling modeling. So we go next. Now, the results that I had been showing on screen, they were a preview, or they were showing what the soiling conditions would have been in the past at this location. Now, what we're interested in is actually making a prediction for the future and then run different cleaning assumptions on top. In order to do that, or before I can do this, I need to make one last input to PVRADAR, and that is a little bit of a financial model. So in order to translate energy losses to dollar losses, I need to know what's the energy sales price. So just for demonstration purposes, I've changed the value to $60 per megawatt hour, assuming that this is the average sales price. I can also define what's the project lifetime. So I would like to know what are the soiling losses over 30 years of lifetime, or consider 30 years of lifetime. I will assume a discount rate of 4%. All soiling and cleaning scenarios will be compared based on their total cost of ownership at today's discounted to today's value. So I need to present a discount rate, and then also I will add an inflation rate to increase cost over time, cleaning cost. With that said, we can go next. And this brings us to the cleaning variance step, where we compare different cleaning variants or cleaning scenarios. And the first cleaning variant that we are looking at is the no cleaning variant. So for us at PVRADAR, to not clean a power plant is a valid cleaning strategy that is worth comparing. Right? So if I go into details, I can see a very similar box plot to what we have seen before, but I can also look at the yearly production. So here you see a screen showing the result of the soiling model for the first year of operation. You also see in green the assumed energy production, and in red the soiling losses in terms of energy. You can see that there's two types of red. This is because we do account for clipping losses. So the darker red is the energy losses at grid connection point, whereas the lighter red is a hypothetical soiling loss if there were no clipping and no curtailment. If I click through the years, I can see that every year has a different pattern. And now what I want to do is I want to push these results back to PlantPredict. So for that, I can go to the PlantPredict tab at the end. Now the general problem here now that we need to solve is that a typical prediction in PlantPredict has a weather file that has only a length of 1 year. But as I explained in PVRADAR, we estimate long-term future soiling losses by reproducing historic rain patterns from 20 different years. And we repeat them in a random order to get a realistic estimate of what soiling will be in the next 30 years of lifetime for that plant. What we now need to do is we need to pick one of those years to be representative and then add it to the 1 year long measure data in PlantPredict. So in order to do that, the approach that we've taken is we first calculate the average soiling loss factor for each of the year. So the year that we're currently looking at, the average soiling loss factor is 3.13. And then we order all of the 30 years of operation in increasing order. And then the user can choose can pick one of those years by selecting a scenario. For example, we can use the year with the lowest average soiling, which would be this one, with an average soiling loss factor of only 2.16%. I could also go for the worst case and look at the year that has the highest soiling of all, or as what we will be doing, I look at the P90 value. So basically, I look at the year where 90% of your years show a lower soiling and 10% show a higher soiling. And here the average soiling loss factor is 5.41%. Now, in order to push this back to PlantPredict, all I need to do is click Apply in PlantPredict button. Select this. what is happening is that now PVRADAR creates a copy of the weather file that is currently associated or connected to the prediction, creates a copy, it adds the name PVRADAR in the title to make it more distinguishable, and it then adds an additional column, soiling losses in daily resolution, to it. That is then automatically used by PlantPredict. There's two convenient links. So one is go to prediction, where I can just quickly jump back into my prediction and hit the calculate yield button. Or there's another one is where I can go to the weather file, to the newly created weather file, and review it. So let's do this first. So I open this in a new tab. As you can see, this brings me now to the PVRADAR meteor norm file for this location. But what I can do here is I can now click on soiling losses, which will display the soiling loss column in the weather file. Not much to see now, but this is just because I'm just displaying one day. I need to look at the entire year. And then I see that now indeed, the weather file in PlantPredict has the exact values, soiling loss factors that we have been seeing in the PVRADAR app in, I think it's even hourly resolution, to be honest. Sorry, I said daily, but it's even hourly. Great. Then, so with this, I can close again. I can then go to the prediction. And then let me just quickly go to the weather file here. So in the weather file, I can also see that now the soiling uses the weather file, and we have updated this column of average values, which is grayed out because they're not really used. It's just to show that something has changed, or what the averages are. Going back to the prediction, I can now run the prediction again and compare results. So you remember there was a 2%, there was a 2% soiling loss before, and now I have, okay, now apparently I have position 5 in queue, so few people are running predictions at this time. Okay, we can assume, well, this may take a second to, let's keep that running in the background and go back to PVRADAR to see, okay, what the result of this is that it's, soiling losses are of course much higher than the 2% that we initially assumed, right? Basically just wanted to show that now the prediction value will also have updated. Knowing the result will be around 4 to 5% losses. Now, with that result in mind, we now may be wondering if soiling losses could be reduced cost effectively with a cleaning strategy. And of course, PVRADAR can also help you do that. So let's go back to PVRADAR and click on variance. Now, quickly click refresh here. Okay, so currently it's running. Oh, let's quickly wait for the end of this. Okay, view energy results. We now see that the soiling loss is indeed 5.69%, so much higher than the 2% we were initially getting, right? Now, let's try to bring this down cost effectively. So we can, what I will be doing is I will now add a cleaning variant. So by clicking here on add cleaning variant, I can now add the effect of a somehow defined cleaning strategy. PVRADAR allows me to first select the cleaning package that I want to use for my cleaning strategy. The cleaning package, let me just select one, is the combination of the cleaning technology, that is the machine that performs the cleaning and all of its technical parameters, the speed, the cleaning efficiency, the consumption, and the cost model, meaning how, basically what kind of cost drivers are there and how does the cost come together. What I've currently selected is a service or cleaning as a service from a local provider based on a wet cleaning tractor. And I assume that there's a $500 per megawatt peak cleaned cost. Of course, I could also choose something more interesting. For example, what if I have the same tractor, but I own it, I buy it. There's an initial purchase cost there's I need to pay operators, they perform the cleaning. PVRADAR allows to do very flexible and very complex cost models. For this demo, I will keep it simple and use the service that just has one cost. So let's use that package. What I now need to do is I need to define the boundary conditions for my cleaning optimization. So our cleaning strategy in PVRADAR consists out of two main values. That is the number of systems that are used and either the specific dates when the cleaning is supposed to happen, or a threshold, so basically a minimum soiling level at which the cleaning should happen. So let's assume I know that the number of tractors that I want to use is 2, because my cleaning provider said they only have 2 machines and they always use both. And then I will ask PVRADAR to, okay, knowing that there will be 2 machines of that tractor, what is the optimal time to clean for each of the years based on the historic soiling conditions? So you can see the optimization is running. So what is happening? PVRADAR is adding different cleaning frequencies or different cleaning schedules on top of the soiling model to see how that affects the energy losses. And then it is comparing. So we have the energy losses of the no cleaning scenario, and we compare that to the lower energy losses with the cleaning plus the cost of the cleaning. And only if there is a positive benefit, that is when, or that benefit we're trying to optimize. Okay, apparently an optimum can be found. So there is a cleaning strategy using that tractor where the net present value of my project can be improved by $1.8 million. And the strategy that was applied is using 2 machines, which takes 23 days to clean the power plant with, and start a cleaning every time the soiling level reaches 5%. If I look at my box plot, I can clearly see the impact. So this was my box plot before, no cleaning. This is my box plot with cleaning. I can see that my average soiling level has decreased significantly. I can also look at the financials. So this is a cost breakdown, a comparison of cost and revenue. There's a comparison of cost and revenue for this cleaning strategy. And then we have, and then we can, let's jump back to PlantPredict, where again, I can pick one of the scenarios. Just let's.
And Thor, you don't have to worry about, running in PlantPredict. We've cleared the queues. So if you want to run prediction, it'll run no problem. Okay,
great. So again, as before, we need to select the soiling scenario. Again, I will use the P90 scenario. Now, what I see here is now I get 2 curves. So red was the no cleaning scenario. Now blue is the resulting, so the soiling losses, including the effect of cleaning, the cleaning being indicated by these orange areas. Now what I can do is I can again click apply in PlantPredict, which pushes these results now, including the effect of cleaning, back to PlantPredict. Just as before. And of course, I mean, just while this is loading, of course, you can, I mean, now I chose an optimal cleaning strategy that is defined by a soiling threshold. What you could also do is you could compare scenarios where you clean every year on a specific date, or every 2 years on a specific date, or there's a lot of options that PVRADAR allows in terms of defining different cleaning strategies. Okay, let's go back to the prediction. We'll go back to the prediction and just run this prediction one last time. So we started with 2%, assuming the standard assumption of 2%, obviously. We then have we saw that assuming accurate soiling but no cleaning, we're down to 5%. And now we introduced the cost optimal cleaning strategy. We would like to confirm what PlantPredict finds as resulting soiling energy loss.
Sorry about that, Thor. Like
I always no problem.
Victims of our own success here.
PlantPredict is busy. Many users are running predictions at the same time, as you would expect. So yeah, I will leave this running and go back to PVRADAR because I would like to also quickly talk about the different project, the second project that is on the East Coast and that has a very different, let's say, soiling conditions. Maybe here on the cleaning variance page, and I also get this kind of visual comparison of the total cost of the no cleaning scenario and the standard and the service that we have just defined, where this is of course the sum of the cleaning cost and the soiling losses, but still it is lower than the total soiling cost of when you don't clean at all. Okay, let's go back to projects. And in this case now I will not create the project from scratch. I will just win some time. I will go into the project that I've already created for Lexington, Kentucky. When clicking here, again, I get it. Okay, this is connected to PlantPredict, to this project and to this prediction. Again, I can of course confirm the parameters, but what is important, or what is interesting now, or more interesting, is step 3, which is the soiling model. Now, I would say that vast majority of project developers that build a project at this location would generally assume that soiling isn't really a problem because it rains so much. And as you can see, even with the confirmed by the ground truth or the NOAA station 31 kilometers away from the project location, we can see that throughout the entire year and throughout all historic years, there's regular rainfall even in summer and winter. Which means that if you assume dust soiling only, you would get very low soiling losses. That is consistent. I mean, PVRADAR model will give you that. PVLib, the HSU model, the Kimmer model, all models will show you that. I mean, soiling losses are pretty much 0. That is until, and then for you to notice, this soiling box plot here does only consider dust. It's a preview. It only considers the dust soiling. Now, what changes this image entirely is once you introduce the sticky soiling. And the sticky soiling is so you can do this in the PVRADAR app by enabling the enable hard soiling checkbox. And now PVRADAR estimates a constant hard soiling rate. So a build-up of what we call hard soiling at a constant rate over time. We estimate that rate based on the concentration of organic matter for that location, and we using reference points that we have where we have measurements. You can of course overwrite that rate if you wanted to. If you think you wanted to do different scenarios, a worst best case scenario, you can do that. But of course now what I will be doing is I will be running with the estimate. So PVRADAR estimates that the soiling loss at this location is 0.46% per year. We go next. And next again. And this brings us to the clean variance. So what I have prepared here is the soiling losses, if untreated at this location. And you can see if I don't clean my power plant at all in 30 years, they can account to a very high value. You might say, okay, this is unrealistic. Of course, at some point we're going to clean it, but yeah, this is a hypothetical comparison. I've also created three variants here. One where I say I clean every 2 years, I clean every 3 years, and one I clean every year. And it turns out that they're all very similar in terms of total cost, although the distribution between cleaning cost and remaining soiling losses is different, but there's a slight edge for cleaning every 2 years. So let's go into detail. And here I only want to show one thing, and that is the yearly production, just to show you how the model deals with this kind of soiling. So here in the bottom graph, we see the soiling loss factor that is building up over time. The first day of production of the first year, of course, it is 0. Then we see that linear growth. We also see that little noise, which is the dust soiling, that is cleaned away quickly by rainfall. Now, as soiling builds up at the end of the year, we reach the 0.46%. But then in the second year of operation, of course, we already started that value, and then it goes up to reach 0.9%. And then as we go through the years, of course, this value gets higher and higher if untreated. Right? In blue, you see that there's a different scenario, and that's the regular cleaning scenario. Of course, if I clean that power plant every 2 years, I can keep that built up in check. And that is really why you need to clean even power plants that are built in areas that see a lot of rainfall. Right. Of course, again, I could push this back to PlantPredict, but I think I'm running out of time. So I would like to give it back to David for the rest of the presentation, or to show the slides again.
All right, Thor. Thank you so much. That's pretty awesome stuff. So let me go back to my screen share. Okay. So I think you got the first couple slides here. Do you want to talk about this?
Sure. Yeah, I'll make it quick to leave some time for the questions. This is basically showing like an overview of the results that we have seen for so basically in the results in numbers that I have presented for San Bernardo in California. We see that soiling losses account for 4.4% energy losses, and then if you add cleaning, you can reduce this by 2.1%. So the cleaning gain is 2.1%, meaning that there's cost saving, revenue increase of $310,000 per year due to cleaning, which means roughly $3,000 per megawatt per year. Yeah, and the same. And then on this next slide, we see that there is similar results for Kentucky. So just highlighting that even in those areas, cleaning can lead to significant revenue increases, or in other words, if you do not clean, you will face underperformance, or your power plant will not perform as you would expect. Next slide, please. Okay, now I guess that in the audience there's many questions about how does that model work. I don't want to, so this has been explained in our last webinar, which is also available as a video. So if you're interested, you can watch the recording on the Terabase website. Just a few words. So the PVRADAR soiling model combines physical and empirical models to go from particle concentration over rainfall to soiling level to the energy losses, and then by running through different scenarios, find an optimal cleaning strategy. Assessments or analysis is based on 20 years of data, historical data for particulate matter, rainfall, meteorological conditions. One of the key features of our model is that it is site-specific, meaning that for every site, we fine-tune some of the model parameters to better represent the local conditions. For example, the hard soiling rate. Yeah? And we do that by using a database of 150 and more soiling measurements that we have collected over time that we can use to, basically what we do is we check for San Bernardo, what kind of measurements do we have in similar areas or close by, and we use them to fit the parameters of our model and then apply the fitted model to the target location, which gives us an edge over, let's say, standard other models that just use the same parameters for all sites. Right, and then of course we account for project design, tilt, clipping, and so forth, and we allow optimizing an optimal cleaning strategy. Next slide, please. And the next slide, please. Okay, so here I wanted to give a little bit of background of where we come from, but I think I will make it short by saying that leave some time for the questions. So basically by saying that PVRADAR, so we have built PVRADAR because we experienced firsthand the kind of problems that come from the difficulty of being able to assess soiling losses when we were still working in project development, and PVRADAR really is the tool that we wish we had when we were working at our former employer in project development. And on the next slide, my last slide, just to show, of course, you need to trust that the PVRADAR model works, but actually there's good evidence for you to do that. Just recently, we published two studies that we performed with our partners, Leeward and TotalEnergies, where they have been basically conducting blind model tests. So TotalEnergies used 9 of their sites in the US to compare in a blind comparison to our model. We provided what we assumed the soiling was. They compared it to our measurements, and they found that the modeling error, of course, there's some error, but compared to alternatives, HSU and Kimber, PVRADAR model outperformed this model easily. All of this and the data is, or the studies are available on our website if you want to see the details. And with that, I give it back to Dave.
All right, great. And with that, we're going to start our third poll question. So Rafal, if you get that poll started, besides accuracy, what is the most important aspect of a soiling tool? Is it simplicity and ease of use, seamless integration into existing workflows, flexible representation of cleaning schedules, the ability to export a report, which the PVRADAR report is really great, and the ability to include your own data like rainfall or soiling measurements. So we'll let everybody have a few seconds to provide your answer. All right, the results are coming in. Let's go ahead and share those results. All right, so there we see the ability to include your own data. So rainfall and soiling data is important to this audience. Also, simplicity and ease of use came in with a close second. So that's good. All right, now let's get on to where do we go from here? So to get started with the PVRADAR soiling extension, we are happy to offer 2-week free trials. So get started immediately. In the post-webinar survey, you can just mention that you're interested in getting on a free trial. If you're a PlantPredict Pro subscriber currently, no problem, we can get you set up. If you want to get a PlantPredict Pro free trial and get access to this, we can also set that up. Another option, and you can do this at any time, is email us at support@plantpredict.com, and just in the body of the email, just request a free trial. All right, so coming out of this, please, if you're interested, let's get you on a free trial. I'm going to use this webinar to announce we are going to be doing a price update in 2026. So on this table here, you're going to see our new pricing effective January 1st, 2026. So our core PlantPredict Pro, our core PlantPredict product has historically over the last few years been priced at $1,250 per year per user. We're going to be raising that to $1,500 per user per year. That means that the monthly rate is also going to increase from $125 per user per month to $125. A reason why we're raising these prices is because we've invested a ton of money into this PlantPredict 3D modeling capability, and we're making that available at the core level. And so we really need to monetize some of that investment that we've made. And also there's additional servers that go into that. We still think it's a tremendous value considering the speed, performance, improvement that you get over PVSYST, but just note that you can still subscribe to PlantPredict for $1,250 all the way up until January 1st. So if you're considering a PlantPredict subscription, you want to move fast. You also can see that we're raising the price of the 3-user version to $3,600 from $3,000, and we're also increasing the Pro price from $7,500 to $7,800. So there's going to be a price increase on the core and the Pro. However, our Enterprise, so the Pro 10-user version, we are going to hold prices flat. So those of you who are Enterprise customers, we're going to keep the pricing the same going forward. So that's a little bit of a benefit to you all. Our extensions are staying priced as they have been in 2025. So you can see that $7,500 for the CAD Ready, $10,000 for the Performance API, and then the PVRADAR. This is where we talk about the PVRADAR pricing. So the deal we're making with PVRADAR is the list price for PVRADAR. So if you're not a PlantPredict subscriber, you just want to access PVRADAR, the list price is $20,000 per company. That's what PVRADAR currently sells their product for as a bundled package. So if you bundle PVRADAR with PlantPredict Pro, you get PVRADAR access for $15,000. So there's a little bit of a value there to bundling PlantPredict Pro with PVRADAR. All right, now I'm going to talk about, on the next slide, a very special introductory offer that we're offering is if you act now and subscribe to the PVRADAR extension, for one thing, you can still lock in 2025 PlantPredict pricing all the way until December, the end of December, and you can get a 20% discount off of the PVRADAR extensions. That gets you one-time introductory $3,000 off your first year. So you can actually get PVRADAR access for $12,000 a year if you subscribe before the end of the year. We are also offering 2-year subscriptions. So if you want to lock in your 2025 pricing for 2 years, you can do that. Also, if you're scheduled to renew sometime in 2026, like in June of 2026, we are offering early renewals. So we could renew your next year's subscription at 2025 pricing if you sign the proposal before the end of the year. So there's a lot of reason to look into either renewing early, subscribing now. Definitely, if you're interested in PVRADAR, now's the time to get moving on that because you want to maximize your value. All right, and with that, we're going to jump over to the Q&A session. Rafal, why don't you tee up some questions for us, and we will do what we can to answer them. If Rafal's not going to ask the questions, I could always jump in and do that. All right. Let me start with a question. So the person that asked this question started off with a very cool how PVRADAR platform can update the weather file, which I agree. But then he asked, does the soiling data integrate with any underlying weather file in use? Because you demonstrated with a media norm. Does it work with any weather file?
Yeah. So there's two ways I could understand this question. So we use the weather file that is being used currently by the prediction, but then we create a copy because we want to keep the old. I mean, we could have replaced the original file, but then this file may be used.
Let me clarify, because I know the person who's asking this question. I know why he's asking. This will work with other weather files such as Solar Anywhere, Solar GIS, or Solcast, correct?
It does as well, correct? There is just a, yeah, there's a little caveat, but yeah, it does in principle work as well. We just need a little bit more additional information from the user.
Gotcha. All right, there's been a few questions in here asking about snow modeling. So does the snow modeling get included in with the soiling results?
So PVRADAR platform allows snow modeling as well. And we are working on an update to make them both part of the same tool. If snow modeling is interesting to you, you can of course reach out to us, and we can show you how you can also get your snow model, your snow modeling, or you can use the Marion-Townsend model. We don't have our own internal PVRADAR model, but we allow automatically fetching historic snowfall data, and then add this on, and then make an estimation of the snow losses. It is just not yet fully integrated into the snow application that we are integrating today.
All right, great. So there's a few questions in here asking about global availability. So can we use PVRADAR in like sub-Saharan Africa?
You can use it wherever you want. The only difference, the model works. The only difference will be what kind of rainfall data sources are available. Obviously, the NOAA stations are only available in the US and in other. We're working on adding more other station networks. Currently, for example, for Brazil and Spain. But yeah, the data available for rainfall might differ, but the model works globally.
All right, so here's a question. How does PVRADAR handle gaps in the NOAA rainfall data?
Yeah, so somebody has been working with NOAA a lot. Yeah, so not well currently, to be honest. So we some NOAA data sets have gaps. That's why we always allow to choose from the 3 closest. The gaps are highlighted in the data, so you can see where they happen. Which means that if there's a lot of gaps, you should pick another source. And there are plans to improve this, but there's this currently under development.
All right, somebody was paying really close attention to your demo because they pointed out in the cleaning simulations, why doesn't the soiling level go to 0?
Yeah, good question. So because the PVRADAR model, so depending on the site we're looking at, but PVRADAR doesn't, so PVRADAR model doesn't assume a rain cleaning efficiency of 100% for one. So even if there's a very strong rain, but depending of the intensity of the rain, but that soiling for a normal rain wouldn't reach 0. There would still be some residual soiling on your panel, as you would assume. And then maybe this question is regarding the cleaning. So the cleaning takes a certain duration. So we assume that the tractor maybe starts in one end of the power plant, cleans the first module on day 1, and finishes cleaning the last module on day 20. But then the first module already has accumulated 20 days of soiling, which means that in average, the power plant is never 100% clean.
All right, well, that's really good. I'm going to finish with this last, this will be our last question. I think it's a good one to end with. So does this mean that soiling measurements on site are no longer needed?
It does not mean that, and we have seen that many people still trust and rely on soiling measurements, and for good reason. What this means is that you can get a very accurate estimation even without your local soiling measurement. Any model is, of course, can be improved with more data, and the data measurement of the soiling of the very location is certainly a good way of improving any model, including ours. But basically, if you're thinking about building and they're doing it site selection, you can already have a good understanding what the soiling conditions will be long before you do your soiling measurement campaign, which takes time until the data is measured, soiling station is there, data is measured. And once it is in, you will not have such a big surprise. There will be small adjustments.
All right, and with that, we will conclude this webinar. So Thor, thank you for taking the time. We did have some people mention that the integration is beautiful. I thought that's a good way to describe it. I do think it's a very clean integration. Way to go, Konstantin, on the technical work that he's done to make this happen. And we're really excited about the collaboration that we're doing with PVRADAR. So this webinar is just the beginning. So for those of you who submitted questions that we did not answer, Thor and I will collaborate and get you, every question that's been asked will get answered via email. And also the most popular question everybody asks is, will a recording be available? Absolutely. We will be processing this recording over the next few hours, and then we should be sending an email out to everybody who registered with a link to the recording, and then it'll eventually be posted on our website in the webinar section. All right, so everybody have a happy Thanksgiving for those of you in the US, and let me know. I want to get you onto a PVRADAR trial ASAP. Please reach out. This is a really special opportunity to get PVRADAR at an incredible value, and we hope you take advantage of it. Thank you. Have a good day.